Hey, what's up, YouTube? We are back again, and I am on this marathon journey, and boy, it's been an absolute killer, to say the least. So we went over to the lab in Mississauga, Ontario, Canada. I am checking out Dr. Brandon Gomes today. He's gonna do an assessment on me, and I've had some kind of niggles here and there, some things that have been bothersome, specifically in the Achilles, the hamstring, the hips. And so he's gonna diagnose some of the issues, and he's also going to help strengthen, and he's gonna do some treatment on there. And this is gonna give me, the ability to have a little bit more confidence in my runs, because I've gone all the way from 27 miles up to 55 miles within about 5 weeks. So we've started to put some load on there, but I feel pretty good, but we just want to make sure we get to the root causes so that I can feel stronger and I can get to my marathon on May 1st in Toronto unscathed, no injuries, healthy, and ready to go. So I am at my best. So we see you guys in a few minutes. All right, guys, so Brandon's gonna take me through a couple of tests right now. I stripped down, don't got any socks on, I took off my pants, so no funny business, but he's gonna show me a few things right now.
All right, first thing we're gonna take a look at is the Achilles tendon. As Shea said, it's been giving him some issues, and anytime you go from 27 to 55 in 4 to 5 weeks, that's a lot of volume you're adding on the Achilles. Tendons are very specific to load, so if there's a rapid increase in load, you'll start to experience some symptoms in the tendon. We're gonna take a look at how well the tendon stretches and how well it produces force. Let's do it. So I'm gonna get Shea to face the wall, and we're gonna start about 4 inches from the wall. So you wanna take your Achilles that's giving you pain and put it right up against the hand. Okay. And from there, you're going to keep the heel down, take the knee and try and touch the wall without letting your heel come off the ground. And we're looking for, can he get there? And we're looking for, is there pain? So,
no pain. It is a little bit stiff in the ankle.
Yeah. Okay, let's see.
No pain.
Let's see it against the other side.
Again, no pain, but it is a little bit stiff.
Yeah, okay, cool. All right, let's look at how this thing produces force. So I'm gonna get Shea to jump up as high as he can with 2 legs. Go ahead. Might have to get some higher ceilings in here.
Okay, and I actually couldn't do this like a couple weeks ago. Specifically, like I just did 15 miles on Sunday. It's Tuesday, and I actually ran 7.5 miles this morning, and I wouldn't have been able to jump like this. It's like the Achilles was really like tender, and it was inflamed for about a couple weeks on and off. And after 15 miles, I wouldn't be able to walk. But now I feel a lot better. So it's good that we're checking this out now, that we can, at least see where I'm at.
All right, let's get him on one leg.
Another jump?
Yeah. Any pain with that?
Nope.
Let's switch to the other leg. Okay.
No pain. Just more cautious on the left side. That's been bugging me.
All right, so because he doesn't have any onset of pain or there's no sharp symptoms, likely what we're dealing with is just a tendon responding to an increase in load, which is not pathological because he has it on both sides. Usually when we get something on both sides, it's due to an increase in activity versus something more pathological. So what we're gonna do is get some stretching going on in the Achilles, maybe start to do some exercises that help it to get stronger as it lengthens, and we'll treat it with some Shockwave. All right, so for Shea's Achilles, we're gonna use something called a Shockwave. The Shockwave is the gold standard for tendon injuries. It works really, really well with chronic tendon injuries, usually thicker tissues that aren't really going to change with manual therapy or massage guns or scraping tools, etc. So we're gonna set this to a pretty high level. It is a pretty thick tendon. You can see the size of the Achilles here. And we're gonna run the Shockwave through the sides and the inside of the Achilles where Shea is having some symptoms. The goal of the Shockwave is to loosen up the tissue, help it to move better. It works really, really well with big tendons, but it has to be solidified after with some exercise. So we're gonna use this first, loosen up the tissue, and then go outside, hit the gym, and do some exercise.
Wow. You don't feel no stiffness at all. Holy smokes. I should come here right just before the marathon, like an hour before, just to test. Oh yeah, much better. Yeah, really feel it.
All right, so as a runner, what we need to work on is the ability of the Achilles to absorb load and forces. So there's no better way to do that than training eccentrically. So Shea's got a pretty heavy kettlebell in his hand over here. He's gonna get up for 3 seconds and down for 3 seconds. We're looking to build control, and we're looking to improve the force absorption capacity of this tendon.
All right, so we just addressed the Achilles and the calf region. Your foot's the first thing that hits the ground, so that has to be nice and strong upon impact. Now we're gonna look up the chain at the hips. Now, I've had some issues for a while now with my left leg, specifically like the whole quad, like the TFL. It gets really, really stiff and tight. So it takes about a couple of miles for my legs to start to turn over and get good extension and for myself to feel comfortable. And sometimes that kind of lingers into the hamstring too, so everything kind of gets the brunt of it. So Brandon's gonna look at that because we know the hip that's the hammer. That's got to be strong as well. So if the hip and the foot aren't functioning together, that can lead to a lot of issues down the road. So we want to make sure that that's addressed as well.
Yeah. So as Shea was saying, the hip is your bread and butter as a runner. Every time you take a stride, you're landing on one hip, you're absorbing force on one hip, and then you're propelling off the hip and the foot. So you don't really need a lot of mobility in the hip as a runner. What we do need a lot of is strength and control. So we're gonna assess Shea's mobility in his hip first, and then we're gonna look at his strength and control. Start to do some soft tissue work, and again, give him some rehab exercises to help make him a more efficient runner. All right, so first thing we're gonna take a look at is the hip's ability to rotate. If we look at a hip joint, it's a ball and socket, which means its entire function is based on its ability to rotate. So we're gonna take a look at Shea's hip, make sure that he's got good mobile hips, because that's the foundation for everything else here. Internal, it's pretty good. Not too bad. Yeah, so he's got about 100 degrees in an arc, which is actually pretty good. Let's take a look at the left one. This is the one where he has a bit of some issues. So we can see here, maybe not as much going inwards, but no real issue with internal. So that tells us, as we go this way, what we're looking at is the ability of the tissues on the outside to stretch. So likely there's some stuff going on here that we're going to take a look at. Okay, first test we're going to take a look at over here is the single leg squat. What we're looking at is actually just a great test for runners in general. We want Shea to be able to get to around 75 to 90 degrees on a single leg squat, and the knee's going to track nicely over the toe. Let's see it. Let's see the other one. Good. How'd it feel with you?
This one feels pretty good. This one's it feels like a lot stiffer on the right leg. This one feels okay.
Okay, cool. Next test is a single leg RDL. So let's take a look at this. We're looking more at the posterior chain. Okay, cool.
This feels better than the second set.
Yeah, so that was pretty clean. I think we can see the difference in control between the single leg squats and his RDLs. His RDLs are beautiful. Next one's actually my favorite test to do for runners because it really gives us a good picture as to what's going on. So it's gonna be a single leg step down test. Over here we have a 12-inch box. And what we're looking at is we're looking for the coordination of the hip, the knee, as we're coming down and loading it. So he's going to have one foot planted. We want just the heel to touch the ground on this leg, and we're looking at the knee control as he gets down. And we'll ask him to do two, just to rule out some errors. Beautiful. So that's the right leg. Let's take a look at the left. Cool. Good. All right, so if we look at the hip complex, it's actually designed to be very, very mobile. There's lots and lots of motion. It's a ball in a socket and it moves a lot. But surrounding it is a ton of musculature, specifically glute min, glute med, TFL, and then a bunch of other little rotators of the hip around here, hip flexor, etc. So what we're gonna start to do now is take a look at just a manual palpation, see what's kind of tight, work through there, and then start to treat and get into some exercises. So. Yeah, so we're finding a lot of tightness in these muscles that are responsible for keeping his pelvis level when he runs, which makes sense because he's been running a lot. So let's do some active release. We're gonna get through these muscles. All right, first thing we're gonna take a look at is we're gonna start to lengthen the tissues on the outside of Shea's hip here. These are the ones that are limiting his ability to externally rotate, and they're contributing to some of the tightness on the outside of his hip. So I'm gonna set Shea up here in half pigeon. He's gonna be on top of an elevated surface. So we have an 18-inch box on its side, and he's gonna load it because he is a freak of nature. What we're looking for is the trunk stays nice and straight. We're hinging from the hip, and we should feel a real deep stretch on the outside of his left hip, which he'll tell you he feels.
Oh yeah.
So we're going to watch, we're gonna watch him do this, and we're gonna see about 3 to 5 seconds down and 3 to 5 seconds up.
It's too light. It's too light.
All right, so now that we've opened up the outside of Shea's hip with some of the exercises there, we're gonna start to solidify. So we wanna hit the save button on this newfound mobility that Shea has, and the only way we're gonna do that is by producing force in that range. So I'm gonna get Shea to set up here to 90-90. So he's gonna be 90 degrees in the front, 90 degrees in the back, okay? From there, he's going to drop onto his side. This leg will straighten out, and I'm gonna place a block under this foot, okay? What I'm gonna ask him to do is he's gonna drive his knee down into the floor, and from there, he's gonna use his hip and pick up his foot off of the block here. And if he does this right, he's gonna feel that big time in the outside of his hip.
Oh yeah.
3 to 5 second hold, come back down slow and controlled, and let's run through another one here. And this is a lot harder than it looks. One more. And good. As you get better, you can actually play with the height of this box. So if I really wanted to torture Shea today, I would put him up on something like this and have him really work. But that is quite difficult, or it should be at least. All right, so we're actually gonna retest, but the retest will actually be an exercise for Shea. So we're gonna take a look at his single leg squat now. And if he can do them cleanly, it then becomes an exercise rehab for him to do at home to help to improve his running. Let's take a look. Where we put the needles on this one was very strategic. We tried to go in all of the rotators of the hip. So you can see here, we have one needle in the TFL. We have one needle in his glute med and glute min. And we have another needle in the posterior fibers of the glute med. We also threw one here down here, that's into his piriformis. And what we're trying to do with these needles is we're trying to relax the nervous system around the area and influence the tone of the muscles in the area so we can decrease the stiffness of the hip joint. I'm going to put a little bit of some stim on the needles, and that's just going to tap away for about 5 minutes. So we'll come back in 5.
All right, guys, there you have it. Dr. Gomes put me through so many tests today just to kind of go over any kind of symptoms that I may have or things that may kind of flare back up in the future. If you guys are in the Greater Toronto area, you guys gotta check out the lab. Dr. Gomes has an incredible staff, just full of knowledge, and they have worked with just pro athletes, weekend warriors. So many people have come into here, and I've known Gomes over the years, and he does a phenomenal job getting people back literally within just a couple of treatments, and you guys are gonna feel incredible. So I thank him again today for taking his time to look after me to make sure that I am on my way to running a sub 3-hour marathon. Let's go.
Oh, Lord, man. I don't like it. I know.
The needles are great, man. Last one we're done, okay?
That's it. Low torch needle.